One thing that's unique to Forex trading is that as Forex traders, we're uniquely positioned to take advantage of a lot of the opportunities across multiple markets, which means that by understanding Forex, we can have insight and should have insight into elements of the futures market and also secondarily also the equities markets of the different countries whose currencies we trade. The primary currency of the majors is the US dollar. So for the most part, in a lot of ways, every Forex pair, in my opinion, is a commodity currency because it has a relationship back to a commodity futures contract, namely the US dollar index. So let's talk about how you can use the US dollar index. Now, for those of you that are using eSignal Premium like I do, you certainly have the choice of pulling up the symbol, which is DX space A0 on your charts and looking at the dollar index. But remember, it is a fee-based real-time feed, so if you're looking to use this tool real-time, you're going to have to pay the New York Board of Trade the monthly exchange fee. This is not a fee charged by your data provider. It's actually charged by the exchange. Futures traders, you're already familiar with this. For those of you that are new to futures, realize that just like bonds are traded on the Chicago Board of Trade, and just like crude oil is traded on the New York Mercantile Exchange, the US dollar index futures contract is traded on the New York Board of Trade, or the NYBOT. So I pay the NYBOT every month, like everybody else who'd want this feed, so I can get a live feed, a real-time live feed. Now I'm happy to do that because I'm a futures trader as well, and some of my favorite contracts are traded on the New York Board of Trade. Sugar and cocoa, just to name two. But where it really comes in handy, having a background in futures, is understanding the relationship between the US dollar and the major pairs. And by major pairs, I'm referring to the Euro US dollar, the US dollar Swiss franc, the Great British Pound US dollar, and the US dollar Japanese yen. Now here you can see quote.com. We're going to put in that same symbol that I plugged in on the eSignal, which is DX space A0. Quote.com is also an eSignal website, so you can use the same symbols. Now if you're using another charting feed, there are plenty of other great charts out there. I don't care if it's TradeStation, if it's Metastock. There's a number of feeds out there. The only thing that I would recommend is make sure that your US dollar index feed is coming from the New York Board of Trade, because that is the main US dollar index out there. Now there are overlaps that are becoming commonplace in the futures market where two exchanges might offer the same or a similar contract. That is not the case with the US dollar index. Again, only get it from the New York Board of Trade right now. So again, DX space A0 on the home page of quote.com, and then go ahead and drop down to get chart. Now, again, this is an alternative for those of you that maybe just want to see if the US dollar index can help you out with your Forex analysis. Maybe you're not quite ready to make the leap to a real-time feed. That's fine. One of the things that the exchange has allowed different sites like quote.com to do is offer a 30-minute delay. So they are streaming in a sense, but they are delayed by 30 minutes. So if I scroll down here, you'll see the chart. Now, I don't necessarily want to use the chart as it is defaulted on the screen here. In fact, a couple things I want to keep in mind. If I'm trading a 30-minute chart of whatever Forex pair or Forex major I'm looking at, I want to go ahead and make sure that I'm also using a 30-minute dollar index chart. So if I'm looking at a daily chart or a 240-minute chart, whatever the interval is, I want to match up that same interval on the dollar index so I'm looking at apples and apples. Another thing is I like using candlestick charts. So what we're going to do is set up a sample 30-minute intraday candlestick chart of the US dollar index futures. And once you've made these adjustments here, go ahead and scroll down to the middle of the page here. What I like to do is increase the density of the chart. Now, the size is the actual size of the chart, how large this will appear in your browser window. The density, however, is how much data it will squeeze in to that chart display. So small, medium, small on the size, medium on the density is just fine. Scroll down a little bit more towards the bottom of the page and you'll see some of the studies that are overlapped on the chart. I want to get rid of everything here. Not that they're not perfectly good studies. I just want something very specific on this chart and to keep it as clean as possible. The only thing I want to put on this chart is an exponential moving average. So I'm going to add that over. And you can see that quote.com automatically gives me 3 different exponential moving averages. These are not ones that I want to necessarily use. And I can't set up the wave the way I use the wave, which is the 34 period or length exponential moving average on the high, the low, the close. I don't have that kind of adjustment, but these are free charts. So I'll do the next best thing. I'm going to put 34 in the first input area here, and then I'm going to go ahead and put 100 and 200 in the other two. Namely because they are psychologically relevant levels, especially the 200, but for the most part I want these other two moving averages, exponential moving averages, kind of out of sight. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust that, and then I'm going to request that it give me these new parameters that I requested. So now you can see the chart looks very different, doesn't it? I think it's a much better, cleaner looking chart, giving me sufficient data to make a good decision. If you want more data or a larger chart, certainly increase the size, increase the density. So now I'm looking at a 30-minute chart with a 30-minute delay, and I can see certain levels are really coming up. By the way, notice the uptrend that the US dollar index is in. That's the first thing that should really pop out. If you want to increase the density to high, and I'm just going to do that for comparison's sake, I change up to high and then I click go up here in the corner. You can see here now I'm pulling a little bit more data. I'm pulling about a week's worth from last Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday to the current day. This is probably even a better look, but it's easier to graduate up to this rather than just squeeze all that data at once. And feel free to play around with these parameters till you find one that suits what you need. But this is an excellent way to not only get the middle line of the wave here, so you can take a clock angle reading. We're firmly within 12 to 2, as you can see here, because for my 30-minute look back, I am operating within the minimum that I need of that 1 week. So I'm certainly within the look back that I would need on this 30-minute chart. I can see I'm in a 12 to 2 uptrend. I can see that I'm battling right now with the 8180 level. Again, remember, this is not going to offer me real time. I'm not up to the tick like I would be had I been on my real time charts. For example, you can see 8180, we're a little bit lower now. See, we're about a half hour delayed. But I'm still getting the general idea of the lines and levels that I need to be aware of on the dollar index futures. Now, it's really important that you follow a certain checklist every morning. Mine starts with heading over to an economic calendar. So I have an economic calendar built into my platform. I also visit a website, a couple different websites for economic data. Okay, find one that you like. There's an excellent calendar at FX Street. There's an excellent calendar at Forex Factory. I trade through Trade Direct FX and Forex.com. There's an excellent calendar built into the platform, the actual execution platform. So there's a number of places you can get it. The second thing you want to do is do exactly what we're doing here right now. Take a look at the index, this dollar index, because it's going to give you insight into the majors and also secondary insight into the commodity currencies, the Australian dollar, US dollar, the New Zealand dollar, US dollar, and the US dollar, Canadian dollar. But primarily you're going to focus on the 4 majors because that's where the correlation will be best, and the 2 pairs that have the tightest correlation typically, okay, is the Euro US dollar and the US dollar Swiss franc. But always make sure, compare time frame to time frame to make sure that correlation is still tight, because they will stray from time to time. They will vary depending upon the news here in this country and also in the currency of the foreign country. Well, foreign depending on where you're at, of course, but certainly the US dollar versus whatever else is in that pair. So this is a great place to start. This is a great resource. Again, quote.com. Check it out. Great way to get a inexpensive or actually a free feed if you're not getting the real-time feed. I highly recommend the real-time feed. You know, it really does make a difference. But to prove to yourself, go ahead and start with that quote.com page, and then you can graduate from there. So thanks for joining me.